About chromosomal diseases. At the last seminar, we studied the topic related to chromosomal diseases. In one of the paragraphs, it is said that when children are born with some gene form creators, dominant in their previous last protoform, they continue to exhibit some of their symptoms and functions until their complete adaptation. You listed a set of syndromes, and one of them is Alice in Wonderland. This syndrome can occur in childhood and later, and it's all over by the age 30. Such people have some imbalance when they begin to see objects of reality enlarged or in a reduced form. This effect of perception is called macropsia and micropsia. It manifests itself similar to what was described in the fairy tale of the same name, when suddenly objects begin either to increase or decrease. The question is, some protoform continues its activity in this form. It is possible to imagine, of course very superficially, that, for example, it is an ant which sees enlarged objects, and at the same time the scale may become smaller. That means that some other protoform has been activated. Based on the facts described by patients, it seems that it's almost like an ODS, Olak-Drotum system. The reality is going crazy. Then it all goes away. Can we say that such person is constantly revitalizing? Somewhere yes, somewhere no. What happens to the biocreators of the brain when this pandemonium occurs? It turns out that it's a very difficult and very rare state, a state where the perception is going crazy. You have noticed correctly that perceptions of various protoforms reflect in our own system of perception in different ways. They affect our focus dynamics, our relations to certain objects of the world, events, states. Why is it happening? Because biocreators of these areas of our brain use us to implement their own notions. Very often it happens through dreams. Because in dreams a physical form, a mixtumnea form, has less restrictive trends than in a conscious state. But it often happens in a conscious state. Biocreators begin to affect the focus dynamics of a certain part of the limbic system. And thereby start to cause the activity of certain neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are also specific, unique forms of self-consciousness, which in our system of perception represent different types of collective intelligences. Different images arise on a bioecran of our personal self-consciousness. These images can be projected both from the collective subconscious through the pineal gland Or they can be initiated from those areas of ODS and NVK which are peculiar to perception systems of these protoforms. A so-called hallucinogenic states are being formed. Hallucinogenic conditions can be caused by certain chemicals. For example, many different types of mushrooms have those substances, which activate certain visions. Certain changes in our perception. When it occurs quite often, in a dream or through various syndromes, not only Alice, there are other syndromes through which it's realized. The interest in it gradually disappears. For example, the same way my interest in some kinds of meditation consistently disappeared. Initially, there was an interest in one kind of information in some kind of conditions. Then, very quickly, you get tired of it, and other information becomes more interesting. Much of what occupied my meditations and was the point of my interest 10 years ago absolutely doesn't attract my attention now. Similarly, in the considered phenomenon, certain areas of the limbic system are saturated with information, and focus dynamics shift to those configurations, where other parts of the limbic system, other biocreators, become more active. Similarly, properties of various protoforms can manifest together through various parts of the limbic system. One thing imposes on another. This is the way how mixed states appear. When one form realizes and activates some centers of our brain with the help of some substances, and then another form realizes. Simultaneously, neurotransmitters, other chemicals that cause other effects, are being produced. So it turns out that people sequentially see now reduced images, then enlarged images, feeling an expanded, as if pulsing state. Moreover, he enters into this pulsating state, he dissolves in it. These are very complex effects. He can be narrowed to a tip of a needle when everything is rapidly winding down and turns into a tip of a needle. And all the surrounding reality is on this tip of a needle, and he feels himself on this tip of the needle. The tip of the needle is a figurative comparison. There are no any needles. I mean small at the level of an atom. Then everything begins to unpack to huge sizes again. Then it begins to narrow again. But it can be manifested in different ways. This is a specific influence of various functional effects of various protoforms on our cerebral cortex. Why does this goes away after a while? Because it is saturated. the interest is annihilated and there appear other interests. A person can even recover and never come back to this. Moreover, the mutations can occur, including those mutations of DNA, which provoke such states. A person may suffer from a strong stress, and this stress may cause methylation of that part, which activated this neurotransmitter in the body. Due to the methylation, it begins to produce another neurotransmitter, which affects other processes, and it's the same gene. Or its activity can even be suppressed. All the time some genes are being expressed, the others are being suppressed. Some genes even are never activated. Some genes are activated only in the initial period of our development, and then they continue to sleep without further activation. In this paragraph, we are talking about the previous protoform. It says, as long as it gets adapted. The point is that there isn't a single protoforms from which we take sputum forms. The matter concerns exactly the protoform, which causes this effect. Then the protoform changes, and the sense of realization can also change. In that paragraph, there was a binding to a particular effect. Previous means what was prior to the activation of this protoform.